Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man again. I got completely knocked out of my live stream. I have no idea why. It said I got back on there and they said this broadcast is canceled. It's canceled. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm coming through right now. But maybe when some people get into the boy, that really burns me up. I was like butter. I was on a roll too. Well, let's see if anybody shows up out there in the big old world. Yeah, Kathy's here. Miss Mindersu's here. Linda's here. What happened? I got knocked off again. Hi, Brett. Let's see how many people make it back in. You know, some people give up on me, but most people stick with me. Then I'll have to figure out something what to do on Bumble. My friends on Bumble. So anyway, boy, it burns me up. I'll put up a lot of stuff to offend them. How about this? How about that? Does that offend you? That make you want to take my stream down? Huh? You creeps. Here, Midas Trash Pail Network. Am I coming through okay, or is my voice breaking up? Y'all have to let me know if my voice is coming through okay. Let me see what I can do with this video. I want to keep the sound. I want to drop the sound down a little bit. Whoa. There. Can I? Whoa, that's pause. No, I don't want to pause it. Here, I'll turn it down a little bit. There. How's that? Can you all hear? Hi, Kathy. Aracelis. Yeah, Miss Mindersu said I'm good. Andrew's here. All right. Got people rolling back in. Look what these creeps on Midas Trash Pail Network come up with. What everyone sees when you wear your MAGA hat. I support what Trump and Epstein did. They're beating that dead horse. You know what? On top of all the other stuff I was saying on my earlier broadcast, and whoever stumbles across this broadcast, I got another one I got cut off from. I was going on. Talking about follow the pen and done in 30. We'll go over that stuff still. But anyway, they're putting out noise that what's-her-face is going to be getting out on work release. I don't know if that's true or not. But I'll tell you this much. Do you remember what a Schiff is? A Schiff, secure, compartmentalized intelligence facility. Thank you, Aracelis. Ha ha ha. Hi, sissy. Do you all remember that? Does it make sense to you that if Maxwell was going to discuss very sensitive things, as we know Epstein was involved in, they can call him a power broker on top of being a creepo and a evil individual. He had a lot of blackmail on people around the world. You think they would just sit there in a facility anywhere that wasn't a secure, compartmentalized facility? Isn't that where you would debrief her? So they say, oh, she's getting work release. Yeah. Her new job. What's her new job? Sing like a bird. And she might get to spend her imprisonment in a much better facility, right? Oh, my mic. Let's see. Make sure my mic's on. Yeah. I get a crossover with this. Hi, Roland. Yeah. You got to misspell that word, Rain. From D-E-A and then T-H. Use a 4 for an A. when you put stuff like that in. Do me that favor. So anyway, I was right in the middle of, I might have gotten in trouble for that Looney Tunes video. I don't know. I might have to take that out. But it's a parody, and you're allowed to put up parodies. Okay? But anyway, listen to this. When we're talking about who all's going to be in trouble here coming up. Let me see, I got to cut my mic off for this.
Chris, good afternoon. Declassified by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence yesterday and publicly just moments ago is an exchange of emails initiated by Michael S. Rogers, the four-star admiral, now retired, who headed the National Security Agency in the second Obama term. Rogers wrote to his boss, then Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, in late December of 2016 to say that he, the admiral, had just returned from overseas travel and had received an update on, quote, our efforts to produce a joint product related to Russian attribution and intent for the DNC DCCC hacks. I know that this activity is on a fast track, Rogers wrote, to put together a product that can be provided to the president. I asked my team if they'd had sufficient access to the underlying intelligence and sufficient time to review that intelligence. On both points, Rogers said, my team raised concerns. My folks aren't fully comfortable saying they've had enough time to review all of the intelligence, to be absolutely confident in their assessments, he wrote. I'm not saying that we disagree substantively, but I do want to make sure that when we are asked in the future whether we can absolutely stand behind the paper, that we don't have any reason to hesitate because of the process. If the intent is to create an integrated product, Rogers said, that is CIA, FBI, NSA jointly authored, that we can all defend, we need a process that allows us all to be comfortable. And I'm concerned we are not there yet. If NSA is intended to be a co-author of this product, Rogers said also, I personally expect to see even the most sensitive evidence related to the conclusion. If your intent is to create a CIA-only or CIA FBI-authored product, then Rogers concluded, I will stand down on these concerns. On that email, Admiral Rogers CC'd FBI Director James Comey, seen at screen left, and CIA Director John Brennan, seen at screen right, flanking the DNI, James Clapper, seated in the middle, for their joint congressional testimony 10 months before this email in February of 2016. Director Clapper took a little over 12 hours to reply to Admiral Rogers, and when he did, he addressed Brennan and Comey as well, suggesting they too, during those 12 hours, privately expressed views similar to those of Rogers. Clapper began, Mike, John, Jim, understand your concern. It is essential that we, CIA, NSA, FBI, ODNI, be on the same page, Clapper wrote, and we're all supportive of the report, in the highest tradition of, that's our story and we're sticking to it, quote unquote. This evening, Clapper continued, CIA has provided to the National Intelligence Council the complete draft generated by the ad hoc fusion cell. We will facilitate as much mutual transparency as possible as we complete the report, but time, Clapper warned, is not negotiable. We may have to compromise on our normal modalities, since we must do this on such a compressed timetable. This, Clapper concluded, is one project that has to be a team sport, Jim. This latest declassification by Director Tulsi Gabbard's office comes after she referred these matters to the Justice Department for additional investigation. And Attorney General Pam Bondi then directed the impanelment of a federal grand jury in Florida for that purpose. Chris.
Yeah, there we go from Newsmax. Is a big, whoa, I'll probably get a daggone strike for that too. Really cut that off. There we go, goodbye. There we go, bye-bye. Anyway, hi Gloria, nice to see you. Did Mike Rogers lie to Trump? He's a hero. He's the one that told Donald Trump on November 17th, 2016, that they were spying on Trump Tower. He's the one that started the ball rolling. He's the one. He's a hero. He's a great American. Watch my first part of my broadcast. I'll have to get that restored somehow. But anyway, that knocked me for a loop as far as where I was in my presentation. I was showing y'all maybe this has something to do with what is wrong with people's brains. You can see what it says there. Chicago decided to change our water pipes. I forgot I had that music in it. Look at that filth. All the let me play that again. All the environmentalists talking about what we're going to do, what's best for us and everything. How long and how many people are in how many cities are drinking water out of that same, who knows how much lead's in there? They used to use lead to join pipes. I worked on enough old galvanized stuff and toilet flanges that had lead in there. Here's something that y'all will like. CNN tumbles below the Food Network in historic audience drop. We're witnessing the destruction of the mainstream news media. Look at this lunatic here. Here's a lunatic that's complaining about the D.C. National Guard. Right? And I don't know, all we see is his face, but I'll show you another clip. Maybe he's getting what's coming to him. I don't know, but here's where they think they're heroes. Where are you getting your water? Where the water you drink? What's wrong with your brain?
I'm leaving my kids, my family, my house, my job, my cat, and everything else just to fucking drive to DC right now. I'm driving from Michigan to Washington, DC because Pedo 47 is a piece of shit, and I'm gonna stick up for my fucking fellow citizens. So fuck you, MAGA. I'm on my way to DC.
Yeah, that's a real great dad to be proud of. Driving from Michigan to D.C., calling the President of the United States a P3DO because of these altered files, doesn't want to open their eyes. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. And your kids can look back at that video and be ashamed of you. But this moron, a moron, I don't know if he's the same guy or not. But look here. Man throws sandwich at Border Patrol officer in D.C. Faces federal assault charges. There he is. He's got his hand wound back. And then you see him throw it and hit the cop. And they're playing it off, you know. You should see the comments in this ABC thing. ABC News. A Washington, D.C. man is charged with assaulting a federal officer after they say he threw a sandwich at a Customs and Border Patrol agent during a confrontation this week. Sean Charles Dunn faces federal charges for allegedly throwing a sub-styled sandwich at a CBP officer who was patrolling Metro Transit Police in Northwest Washington. Authorities say that after attempting to flee, he was apprehended and later admitted to the incident while being processed at the police station, allegedly telling an officer, "I did it. I threw the sandwich." And, of course, the smooth-brained liberals are going, "Oh, they're so petty. You can't take somebody throwing a sandwich at them. They're going to turn it into a felony." You throw any object. You strike an officer with any object. You're not protesting. You're harassing. You're impeding. You're interfering. Any number of things. Well, Gene Pirro put this up. To give it a little more context. I don't know if that's the same bowl of Fruit Loops we saw cursing into the camera about coming from Michigan, but I think they're all from the same tribe. Look at that pink shirt. But anyway, here's Judge Janine.
So President Trump has vowed to make D.C. safe and beautiful again. And as part of his effort to fight crime, he's bringing in our federal law enforcement partners like FBI, ATF, DEA, or Park Police, everybody to help the Metropolitan PD fight crime. And the president's message to the criminals was, if you spit, we hit. Well, we didn't quite do that the other night when an individual went up to one of the federal law enforcement officers and started jumping up and down, screaming at him, berating him, yelling at him. And then he took a Subway sandwich about this big and took it and threw it at the officer. He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer. And we're going to back the police to the hilt. So there. Stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else.
Stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else, you creep. I agree. And Tom Homan has pretty much told him, hey, the sanctuary crap in D.C. is over with. D.C. is no longer a sanctuary city. And pretty soon, no city will be a sanctuary city. No sanctuary for people invading our country, and there'll be no sanctuary for those who aid and abet them.
I think D.C. under federal control is not going to be a sanctuary city. We're working with the police hand in hand. When we encounter a criminal, illegal alien, they're going to be turned over to ICE. And that's the way it should be. I mean, I'm not saying every illegal alien in D.C. is a criminal, but many are. So these are people we're going to focus on. Illegal alien criminal safety threat in D.C. is not going to be protected. There's no sanctuary for these people in the city of D.C.
Yeah, forget about it. No sanctuary anymore. No sanctuary anymore. So anyway, we're getting to the bottom of this business with Adam Shifty Schiff, right? And where is that clandestine put this out? Put something out that I thought was very interesting, and it made me go, aha! Follow the pen. Let me go through them until I come across the proper one. And does it mean highlighter pen? And there's something else we're going to talk about. It's called tunnels in D.C., right? So I've got them up here. So a lifelong Democrat staffer goes to the FBI, tells them that Schiff was knowingly leaking information to harm Trump. And the left-wing mainstream media are silent. If a Republican did this to Biden, every outlet would be wall-to-wall 24/7. We'd be getting alerts on our phone. Democrat politicians would be calling for people to take to the streets, and sheep would be foaming at the mouth or jumping up and down in the street, cursing and throwing sandwiches at people, at the very least. Anyway, but since the mainstream media are compromised and are complicit in the conspiracy to remove Trump, they don't want to talk about one of the most damning revelations in history. Their silence proves their complicity. And here he's got this article. Adam Schiff approved intel leaks to smear Trump. Thought he'd be CIA chief if Hillary Clinton had won, says the whistleblower. Well, Adam, you didn't get to be CIA chief, and use your typical Democrat machine to get your rear end put in place there in California. But that's not going to protect you. It's not going to protect you. Let's see this one here. Whoa, wait a minute. I want to make sure I get the right ones. Well, let's see. Let's see what this is. The Smithsonian museums and their tunnel network are right between the White House and the Capitol building, Supreme Court, Library of Congress. Y'all ready to get into some conspiracy theories? Trump decided to conduct a review of the Smithsonian operation the day after he took control of the National Guard of D.C. and deployed the National Guard. Call me a conspiracy theorist all you want. But there's way too much smoke here for there not to be any fire. Trump is up to something. And he put a picture up, which I will expand on the bottom there, showing White House, Capitol, Smithsonian museums. Huh? Well, he had more to say about it. And that's this post here. Observe the timeline. Yesterday, Trump takes federal control of the D.C. police for 30 days. That's why I'm thinking to myself, done in 30? I don't know. I'm just saying. Deploys the National Guard to secure D.C. Secretary of Defense has named specialized military units on standby. Remember me saying I like the sound of that when they said specialized military units? And also, he doesn't mention this, clandestine, but that Trump started referring to Hegseth as the Secretary of War. W-A-R. Today, Trump notifies the Smithsonian he will be reviewing their collections. This means that Trump will have access to the Smithsonian tunnels beneath the National Mall, while he just so happens to have military presence and full control of D.C. These tunnels could be used to mask the movement of troops, perps, equipment, etc. Oh, that's one way to look at it. You arrest a bunch of high-profile people, and you don't want to parade them through the street or what have you. You know, you just run them through the tunnels onto their join Andrews Air Force Base and take them right out to Gitmo. I find the timing of Trump conducting a comprehensive internal review of the Smithsonian museums to be a little suspicious, to say the least. And here he's got a graph of what we're looking at here. The Smithsonian and the White House and the Capitol and all that good stuff. You know, it's just, yeah, Jerry, they've been cleared out 5 years ago, but that doesn't mean we're not using them for our purposes. Like Clandestine said, to move perps and equipment and troops. Troops, perps, and equipment. Right? Keeping it out of the eye of the public so they don't know what hit them. They won't know what hit them. So I'm still looking for this one from Clandestine. Here we go. He put up a lot of stuff. Obama and his cabal would have gotten away with everything if it were not for patriots like Admiral Mike Rogers. Over the last 10 years, you have been witnessing a shadow war. Good guys do exist within the U.S. government, and they have been fighting back this entire time. Many stayed true to their oath and chose to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Didn't I say, when I was referring to the Texas legislators, that their oath said that they have no purpose of evasion of their responsibilities? Remember that? They're cutting a deal to come back now. we're witnessing the collapse, the destruction of the radical left. Not our old friends on the left, the radical left. Here we go with Clandestinio once again. This FBI report is insane. Schiff had a coordinated leaking system, meaning his operation was premeditated, and Schiff was knowingly engaged in calculated leaking of classified information as part of a broader scheme to establish a fake narrative and overthrow the President of the United States. And here's the photo that he put up, which was presumably released by Tulsi Gabbard. And the highlighted portions refer to this was not a one-time thing. Under the system established, notes would be run up to the ranking member, Adam Schiff, after which a decision was made as to who would leak the information. Remember, Jeff Sessions was saying the leaks were felonies and he would track every one of them down. The leaker alleged that this process remained in place under the minority staff director, an ongoing operation of continuous leaks. But what's even more interesting, this is a picture released today. The pen. Follow the pen. So, you know me, I go to our favorite 17th letter and put in there the pen. Just type in the pen. And of course, it had 20 posts. Some of them had the word like Pentagon, penalty. And there was an interesting post about McMaster's father passing away mysteriously, which is another subject. But the pen. What came up with the pen? Donald Trump, I hear them. How many times have we seen this? I hear by demand, and will do so officially tomorrow, that the Department of Justice will look into whether or not the FBI, DOJ infiltrated or surveilled the Trump campaign for political purposes. And if any such demands or requests were made by people within the Obama administration. Officially demand. That was back in 2018. So he didn't get information. So who was being insubordinate or subversive or treasonous? Follow the pen. Think timing coincidence. The attacks will only get worse. They're losing all control. There was a post which had this picture. And like I say, all you got to do is put in the pen. You see, what do you see? A pen. It looks like Donald Trump's signature underneath the pen. Number 1776. Without the pen, the author of Common Sense, the Sword of Washington, would have been raised in vain. John Adams. What's this one? Hannity. This was from a fellow on the message board that was highlighted in the black box. Hannity just dropped the pen again, using a very artificial tone. Follow the pen. Hannity was talking directly to us. So when you see some anomaly with a pen, it means you got to listen to what's going down or pay attention. And the response from the 17th letter was, haven't you figured it out by now? So I said, when I saw that pen, this is a marker. This is Adam Schiff is going down. And everybody was complicit with him. C before D. Coates before D class. Remember Dan Coates? The month of August is traditionally very hot. You have more than you know. Important to fully digest and understand. 4 days ahead. D class. Note the pen. You have more than you know. What was the picture that went along with this? Right here. This is the picture that went along with the post I just read. Catherine Herridge. Discussing 6 years ago. FISA. Steele dossier. How many judges are we dealing with right now that are stymieing the president that are FISA judges? Carter Page Russia contacts. Inspector General Horowitz. But what do you see? The pen. And what were we told? Follow the pen. What was put out today concerning Adam Schiff, damning whistleblower evidence? Bombshell, they say. Hey, Penn. It's all coincidence, folks. You know that. Right? You know that. Let's see if Maria Bartiromo. Donald Trump put this up today. Maria has called out Schiff's claims for years. Years. I wonder how many times she banged a pen around or dropped a pen or waved a pen while she was talking. Anyway, here's the clip that Donald Trump put up with Maria Bartiromo discussing Shifty Adam Schiff. Maybe we'll see a pen. I don't know.
Over and over again, Adam Schiff went on programs saying things like that. We never bought into Schiff's claims, of course, and our audience knows better. I spoke with current CIA Director John Ratcliffe repeatedly when he was congressman and on the Judiciary Committee over a 10-year period. Here's one of those conversations on Sunday Morning Futures so many years ago.
The Democrats have made the mistake of staking the credibility of all this on Adam Schiff. The person that they put in charge of this investigation turns out is the one that helped start it by meeting with a person who walked out of Adam Schiff's office and became the whistleblower. And at the very same time that that's happening, as you mentioned, now there's an Inspector General report that comes out that says during the last impeachment hoax, the Trump-Russia one, Adam Schiff repeatedly made false statements to the American people about the FBI's actions.
You know, Adam Schiff was certainly out and about a lot throughout the last 3 years saying that there is collusion in plain sight. And now we get the IG report and we actually see the misconduct and what they call errors, fraud, whatever you want to call it. What is your reaction to what you learned from Michael Horowitz?
It wasn't just that Adam Schiff was out and about. He put out a report that said there was no FISA abuse by the FBI. That was false. He said that the FBI didn't fail to turn over exculpatory information. That was false. He said that the Steele dossier was not a central part of the FISA applications against Carter Page. That was false.
When asked to comment, Schiff's office said this, quote, Kash Patel's latest smear against Senator Schiff is absolutely and categorically false. These baseless smears are based on allegations that were found to be not reliable, not credible, and unsubstantiated from a disgruntled former staffer. Ashley Davis, the whistleblower, says all this started because Adam Schiff assumed he was going to be the CIA director in a Hillary Clinton administration. Of course, President Trump won, and for years we poked holes in this ridiculous story of Russia collusion that Adam Schiff was going on all these shows claiming about President Trump. We knew better. And you know what's really incredible? That when you have the title of chairman of Intelligence Committee, people believe what you say, Ashley.
Absolutely.
So he's going all these shows with this title that he knows something that we don't, even though it was complete nonsense.
Absolutely, Maria. And first of all, good morning. But one of the major things I think that is different from what this story has been doing the last few years with just bubbling up is the fact that the FBI unclassified the 302 document from the FBI. So now there's real proof that Congress can see. They've obviously they already delivered it last night or yesterday afternoon to Congress. They can actually see the research, even though some of it's redacted. Here's what I'm watching, the number one thing. What is Chuck Grassley going to do? He is a huge supporter of whistleblowers. He has been after Schiff and what his leaking potential since 2020. He's chair of the Judiciary Committee. And how is he going to investigate or hold Schiff responsible? I think that's where the real power is right now.
Yeah, no, you're right. And also Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. We need Pam Bondi to actually pursue prosecutions here. This story ripped the country apart, Adam.
Oh, my gosh. It ripped the country apart. And you, thankfully, Maria, stayed on top of it the whole time. We always, as we were looking and talking back then, as we listened to Schiff, as we talked about Schiff, there was something about it that just didn't ring true. It was just so highly manipulated and so partisan. And imagine someone actually doing all of that, going and creating, falsifying information for political gain. It's shocking.
Well, it's shocking because all it was always about was holding on to their grip on power.
And that's what it's always about. And they're losing their grip on power. You know, me getting knocked off earlier in my broadcast, I'm wondering if it was because of the Looney Tunes cartoon, which was a parody, okay? A parody which is allowed. And it's also discussing a serious matter. And it was posted by an assistant to the President of the United States, senior advisor, concerning a sitting senator who may be indicted. And they go behind copyright to just take my video down? Should I contest that? Or just erase the Looney Tunes part? You got to pick your battles, right? This is another pen picture that was on the 17th letter there. You see the pen and it says White House. Okay. I encourage you to take a look at some of these posts because they say certain words are blocked out, would be refilled in other pen posts. So I guess it was a way, it's years ago, a way to get across messages, but we get the message. We get the message, okay? So we're going to hear things about not just Adam Schiff, but Hillary Clinton, along with John Brennan, Clapper, Comey. But look at this. Remember the IG report, the Inspector General report done by Michael Horowitz said the Clinton Foundation and crimes against what? Children, right? The fall of Clinton Inc. Was the Clinton Foundation anything more than an influence peddling machine? Donations to the Clinton Foundation skyrocketed when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State or running for president, then massively collapsed after she lost the 2000 election and had no political future. There's a graph right there. And don't forget my notion on how Epstein made a lot of his money. Money laundering, okay, bribes in the guise of investments. Was he getting money through J.P. Morgan? Was he handling money for the Clinton Foundation? How many senators, how many people did he have in his back pocket? And you know who I'm talking about. Epsteinio. Their reach went all through Hollywood. You remember Scott Baio? Remember him? He's one of dozens of people who had a career in Hollywood. And all he did was shake Donald Trump's hand. And they destroyed his career. How many more people have done? They've done that too. How many people in just regular jobs? We know in government jobs, anyone who supported Trump was persecuted, fired, smeared, sometimes charged. Like Kamala Harris said, I could destroy someone's life with the stroke of a pen.
So last night I'm watching Gutfeld, which I'm a big fan of. And my friend Adam Hunter was on there, who's family. He has a wonderful wife and daughter. We love him. And one of the guests, unwarranted, that he didn't know if I was alive or dead. Well, Tyrus, just so you know, I've been in the entertainment business since I'm 9 years old. I don't know how many television series I've had, maybe 7. I don't know how many movies I've done, a bunch. How much directing I've done, a bunch. And I had a show on up until 2016. You know what happened in 2016? I spoke for President Trump the first night of the Republican convention in Cleveland. And what do you think happened after that? I got canceled. And the reason I got canceled is because I spoke for Trump. And the reason that I did it is because I want my daughter, whom I love, to grow up in the country that I grew up in. I had death threats, and my daughter, that's kind of where I've been for the past 9 years. Done some work in between that, but
I don't know what they did to me there, but anyway, you get the message. They destroyed his career. They destroyed his career. I must have a bad connection, or the stuff I'm saying displeases people. I don't know. I do not know. But I do want to read this from Donald Trump before I may get plucked off again. Okay? This is part of the way that I got my title in the thumbnail, which was to scrape the filth out of D.C. Washington, D.C. has one of the highest rates of crime in the world, more than many of the most violent third world countries. The city's homicide rate is higher than places notorious for their violence, such as Mexico City, Bogota, Islamabad, Addis Ababa, almost 10 times higher than Fallujah, Iraq. If D.C. were a state, it would have the highest homicide rate of any state in America. The violent crime rate in D.C. has worsened, and the murder rate has essentially doubled in just over a decade. But these are only the official statistics released by corrupt city officials. Corrupt city officials. The real numbers are many times worse. In fact, a precinct commander was just suspended for allegedly manipulating the violent crime statistics, and the D.C. police union likewise says the real numbers are much bigger, much higher, because the Democrat government of D.C. has largely stopped investigating, arresting, and prosecuting most crime. The published statistics don't even capture a fraction of the actual violence. No one is arrested for shoplifting. Citizens living in fear, have largely given up on calling the police, instead choosing not to walk the streets after dark, essentially becoming captive prisoners in their own city. Stores lock up their merchandise behind glass walls. Gang youth violence is so common, it goes largely unreported. Vehicle theft in D.C. is more than 3 times the national average. Schools are completely dysfunctional. Citizens are afraid to speak up or call the police lest they be targeted. What does that tell you? It tells you that some people on the police force are working with gangs. D.C. has been under siege from thugs and killers, but now D.C. is back under federal control where it belongs. The White House is in charge. The military and our great police will liberate this city, scrape away the filth, and make it safe, clean, habitable, and beautiful once more. Yeah, scrape away the filth. Speaking of filth, I didn't get to talk about this last night. Gavin Newsome. There he is. Plastic face Newsome. Newsome threatens ballot measure response if Trump doesn't abandon Texas redistricting push. Oh, really, Gavin? You're already maxed out. You're playing with fire. Governor Gavin Newsome warns of a national redistricting arms race if President Trump doesn't stand down on GOP-led redistricting push in Texas. Yeah, if you had the ability to create more Democrat districts, you would have already done it. You wouldn't have your flunkies resorting to pulling the fire alarms during big votes. You wouldn't have took the chance of losing the House this last election. You have already done your damnedest, and we know it. So it falls on hollow. Your words are hollow. We don't give a damn. Do your damnedest, you creep. I'm just looking at the YouTube's messing with me, cutting me in and out. How's my voice doing, not the videos? So anyway, we got this summit coming up, and the Telegraph is putting out crap like this. Trump to present minerals deal to Putin in Alaska. I haven't heard that. Oh, Trump is going to give away American territory. That's what they're insinuating. The U.S. intends to offer Russia the development of rare earth minerals in Alaska, reports the Daily Telegraph. Trump is preparing to present such a deal to Putin during an upcoming summit in Alaska. The Telegraph writes, as incentives to end the war, the White House will offer opening Alaska's natural resources to Moscow and lifting some American sanctions on the Russian aviation industry. They're throwing some incendiary garbage out there. Trump might give them the right of first refusal on some mining right to have a Russian company mine under strict scrutiny. But he wouldn't just say, oh, we'll give you the mineral rights to our land. Putin appears ready to test new missile as he prepares for Trump talks, researchers say. Okay, so they're claiming Putin's going to let off a mystery bomb to scare Trump. A nuclear-powered cruise missile, 9M730 Berezovsky this week. Reuters reports. The agency writes as observers note the activity at the Pankovo test site on the Novaya Zemlya archipelago in the Barents Sea, including an increase in personnel and equipment, as well as ships and aircraft related to earlier tests. So there's fear-mongering going about and ammunition for lefties to say Trump is giving away America. All on anonymous crap. Russia makes largest advance in Ukraine in over a year. Well, this is true. He's put the pedal to the metal. Russia may have set a yearly record yesterday for territory captured in a single day. According to an analysis of data from the Institute of the Study of War conducted by AFP on August 12th, the Russian army captured or claimed to have captured 110 square kilometers. This was the largest advance by Russia since the end of May 2024. Usually such an advance takes the Russians 5 to 6 days. Yeah, could it be that opposing forces are walking away? And what happens when opposing forces walk away? You fill the void. You fill the void. Whoa. What in the heck? Things are going crazy. Trump stated that European leaders want him to make a peace agreement on Ukraine with Putin. I will talk to you European leaders soon. They are wonderful people who want to make a deal, wrote the U.S. president. The conversation will be today. I wonder how that went. And then here, what's this? The meeting between Putin and Trump will take place at the Elmendorf-Richardson military base in Anchorage, Alaska, CNN reports, citing White House officials. Would it be something if Trump was engaged in this foreign policy exercise that the entire world is watching? And wouldn't that be a great time to make a move on scraping the scum out of D.C.? But we got 30 days, or how many days, going to be done in 30. I don't know if that's referring to this situation or not. The Ukrainians, this is from Viktor Orban, president of Hungary. The Ukrainians lost the war. Russia won. The only question is when and under what circumstances the West, which supports the Ukrainians, will admit this has happened. The Russian Ministry of Defense states that according to information received from several channels, the Kiev regime and Zelensky are preparing a provocation to disrupt the Russian-American summit. Well, it's my opinion that operatives are disrupting it with propaganda right now about nuclear missile testing, about giving them mineral rights on American soil. But now they're talking about a kinetic provocation. The armed forces of Ukraine have brought foreign journalists to the Kharkiv region to make reports. The planned scenario is as follows. Friday, Kiev will strike with an unmanned aerial vehicle, one of the densely populated residential areas or a hospital with a large number of civilian casualties. This will be immediately, quote, documented by the imported journalists, and the blame will be placed on Russia. So let's see if this prediction comes true. Friday's going to be a big day. If nothing else but the meeting between Trump happens and Putin, Zelensky refuses to withdraw troops from Donbass. We will not leave Donbass. If we leave Donbass voluntarily or under pressure, we will start a third war, Zelensky said. The Ukrainian president also refused to discuss any possible territory exchanges with Russia, while indirectly requesting a meeting with Putin and Trump. During the call, I said that I am not ready to discuss Ukraine's territories, as this is exclusively a matter of our Constitution. Yeah, you know, so's elections. But anyway, and honestly, with all due respect, I am not ready to discuss these issues over the phone. These are serious matters that are resolved at the leaders' level, Zelensky told journalists. Well, don't forget, Russia said a long time ago they don't consider you a valid leader because you canceled elections. Given this rhetoric, it is unlikely that any breakthroughs should be expected from the meeting between Putin and Trump in Anchorage, Alaska. Well, there's a lot of stuff coming out of the Ruski land. Britain issues warning to Merz and Macron over Ukraine. British authorities have urged EU leaders to stop making useless comments about the negotiations between Putin and Trump. Again, the Telegraph. Whoops, what's going on here? It is reported that London is increasingly concerned about public comments on Ukraine's future by figures such as Emmanuel Macron and Friedrich Merz and Kaja Kallas. The British fear that making it public demands to the U.S. president could have unpleasant consequences and lead to Europe being completely excluded from the negotiations. Yeah, you have Trump come there and put his foot in your rear end. If you screw things up, haven't you done a good enough job already? The front in Donbass is collapsing. The next few hours will be decisive for the armed forces of Ukraine. Didn't Zelensky say he wasn't leaving Donbass? It looks to me like he is. Military analysts report that Russian units have penetrated 18 kilometers. Russian groups may establish drone operations, allowing them to hold their position for a long time. I see something being mentioned that we got to be careful about it in the chats. Use a O, use a 0 instead of a O. Earlier, the former commander of the band A's and then Ov also spoke about the collapse of Ukrainian front in Donbass, complaining to Zelensky that on the Pokrovsk and whatever it is line, without exaggeration, is a complete disaster. This is about as up to the minute as you can get without me just sitting on another platform monitoring the news. Putin is making big moves to get this stuff cleaned up, get the battle lines to what's most favorable to Russia before he meets with Trump. And for all we know, some military commanders on the Ukrainian side might be helping by backing their troops off. Article from the New York Times. On July 21st, a Russian missile strike hit a Ukrainian training camp near whatever that is, killing a dozen foreign volunteers. Remember earlier in my broadcast, I was putting up stuff about American mercenaries, mercenaries from all around the world, such as from different countries, such as USA, Colombia, Taiwan, and Denmark. Now, why are they putting this stuff out? This happened July 21st. The attack occurred during lunch and also caused a fire at an ammunition depot, leading to an additional explosions. More than 100 people were injured. The air raid siren at the base did not sound, and there were no first aid supplies. Ukraine is conducting an investigation and plans to move more training underground to avoid future strikes with mass casualties. Well, if you play your cards right, it could all be over with by Friday. You do what Daddy wants, Daddy Trump. The U.S. is closing the airspace over Anchorage, the largest city in Alaska. This will happen on August 15th, the day scheduled for the meeting between Putin and Trump and Putin. According to a notice from the federal FAA, on Friday there will be a VIP movement, due to which flights will be prohibited within a radius of 48.3 kilometers and at altitudes of up to 5.5 kilometers. You can bet anybody that breaks that boundaries is going to be puckered. I'll put it that way. Tell me what y'all think of this. I don't necessarily ascribe to this timetable, but the bottom line is, we've talked before, people got to be woken up, and they got to have a pill that's small enough to swallow, and they got to have enough time to digest new information, right? If we dump it all on them at once, there'll be information overload, and lefties aren't that damn bright anyway. But anyway, I see many people asking where the arrests are at. The answer is when the time is right. The public are currently being briefed, so they know why these people are being arrested before arrests happen. These information nuggets have been dropped to us in 13-day intervals. That's according to his calculations, giving the public time to understand and digest the magnitude of these revelations before they move on to the next nugget of information. In other words, this rollout is coordinated, which means there is a plan, which means there's a timeline, which means there's a projected end to the timeline. This is a calculated dissemination process. Trump and his team are preparing the public for the shocking things that have to be done. And he put this little graph up. I guess he made the graph. I don't know. Let's see. On July 18th, DNI drop about Obama ordering Russian hack. July 31st, FBI drop about Clinton campaign involvement from Durham Annex. August 13th, DNI drop about Clapper telling NSA to ignore procedure. Well, there's a lot more stuff coming out about that than that. The Clinton Foundation involvement, Adam Shifty Schiff involvement. But if they're just putting their hands over their ears going la, 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 like I said, if they're doing that, too damn bad for them. We're not waiting for them anymore. This was a clip they put up about Trump. A reporter asked him, will there be consequences if there's no deal on Friday?
To stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences. Yeah.
Very serious consequences. Now, what could he be meaning? Could he be meaning heavy tariffs or what? We don't know. Let me see, what's this one? I like this picture because I've seen it used before. When he's in that pose. Trump wins appeal over freeze on foreign aid. You know, they just don't want to give up. And they keep losing at every turn. A federal appeals court lifted a lower court injunction. This was, I think, his 17th win. No, he's won 17 times in front of the Supreme Court. This is a federal appeals court. So, but the leftist suckers, every time, at some point they got to give up. I mean, it's like, quit believing this crap. Trump announces George Strait, Sylvester Stallone, Michael Crawford, Gloria Gaynor, and Kiss as Kennedy Center honorees. My God, I could never imagine, but Kiss being in Kennedy Center, but that's okay. That's okay. The president called Gaynor's 1978 disco hit one of the few that get better every time. So, multiple things at one time. You know, got a little something for everybody. Here is some more stuff on the disclosures that are going to be coming out. I think this is a clip. He's talking about Adam Schiff, I believe, but I think you're going to hear him talking about Hillary and maybe even Soros.
Committee Chairman James Comer. First, your response to John Solomon's report?
Well, Solomon's the best investigative reporter out there, and this is just more evidence of how the deep state tried to interfere in our elections. The deep state needs to be held accountable. The evidence is coming forward. Thank God for Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard and John Radcliffe. They're doing what we've hoped would be done for a long time, and that's exposing the truth. And with great investigative reporters like John Solomon, great platforms like yours, Sean, we're finally going to see justice, I think. At the end of the day, more than anything, we have a new intelligence community, one that we can trust now, one that is going to be rebuilt, and hopefully we'll be safer now because we have a credible intelligence community.
Biden people are coming before your committee, and they're either pleading the fifth or they are just in flat-out denial of any decline that Joe Biden was experiencing. This memo that says, well, he can't do this event because there's too many steps, and there wasn't a whole lot of them, that he would have to walk on a ship, tells me that they all knew. Are you coming to the conclusion that everybody knew and they're either lying or covering it up?
Well, this is more evidence that there was a cover-up to try to conceal to the American public Joe Biden's mental decline and physical decline. Look, we couldn't even trust Joe Biden to walk around a ship that was used to protect the American people, and they tried to get him through for another 4-year term, much less tried to cover up to the American people the current status of the President of the United States. We look at this investigation of the auto pen, Sean, and we see that all the activity that took place with that auto pen, especially over the last 90 days during the lame duck period, once Donald Trump won the election, but before he was sworn in as president. And what's at stake in this investigation is to determine whether or not those executive orders and those pardons that were signed by the auto pen are valid. And I think that with the evidence that continues to emerge, including those emails today that show there was a coordinated effort to conceal how bad a shape Joe Biden was in, I think that's going to not play out well for the future of those executive orders and those pardons in a court of law.
All right, James.
This is more on the Biden senility. Let me see. This John Solomon report is what I believe he gives a little hint about future stuff. That's what they were talking about in the first place. Then they got off on Biden's mental state, physical state. But anyway, let me see if this is the right clip.
elements that we haven't spent a lot of time talking about, which actually was the largest obsession of the FBI and the largest frustration of the FBI during the Comey years, was the FBI's efforts to potentially investigate and prosecute Hillary Clinton for corruption via her Clinton Foundation. Tomorrow, we're going to make public for everybody a bombshell timeline, a lengthy memo that goes in great and painful and excruciating detail all the ways that the Justice Department under Barack Obama and some of James Comey's deputies went to stop agents from legitimately investigating predicated corruption investigation against Hillary Clinton, looking at money and decisions she made. Money goes to the foundation, decisions are made. They thought they saw a pattern, not one office, not two offices, 3 separate offices of the FBI. They were politically obstructed. You're going to know the names, the terms, the dates on which all that obstruction occurred by tomorrow morning.
Yeah. By tomorrow morning, the names, the dates. You saw Hillary sitting there. Yeah, everybody's putting out this stuff like this here. Tweet. Breaking DNI Tulsi Gabbard just declassified bombshell files that show in December 2016, before Trump took office, then DNI James Clapper complying with Obama's orders and shockingly admitting that creating the Russian hoax report was compromised in their normal operations, but they continued anyway. Prison time. And this is what he was referring to, these memos, where they said, we all got to be on the same page. This is our story, and we're sticking to it. It's kind of blurry. But anyway, they're declassifying these emails. It says, Jim. We got to stick together. We got to keep our story straight. This was after Admiral Rogers said, if y'all going to do this stuff, I'm not down with it. You got to have things more solid. And this is these emails saying, we got to have a unified front. But it's all out in the public domain right here, even though it's hard to see here. I don't know why that's the sharpest copy. I got it right off True Social. But anyway, let me see here. Fox News this is Sean Hannity. How long is this clip? Comey's media hole told the FBI he shaped Russian narrative. Media mole told FBI he shaped Russian narrative. Needed discount to deny linking intel. John Solomon and Jerry Dunleavy report.
Again with John Solomon, editor-in-chief, founder, chief investigator of reporter, justthenews.com, revealing tonight that an FBI investigation uncovered the fact that Mr. Higher Honor himself, James Comey, routinely leaked classified information to the New York Times through an intermediary, a friend, on the faculty at Columbia Law School. The sheer amount of leaking appears to be political, deep, dark, purposefully deceptive, and in a myriad of ways. Here with details is investigative reporter, founder of justthenews.com, editor-in-chief. All right, Mr. Higher Honor, years ago on this program, I said, you have the right to remain silent, and you might want to use it. This is a very long piece that you have here.
Yeah.
It is a worthwhile read. I'll let you sum it up, and then I want your conclusion on what you're finding here, because to me it's very damning.
Well, what you find out is that James Comey decided not to work through the FBI press office when he wanted to change the narrative in Washington, burnish his reputation against attacks from Democrats, and try to sully Donald Trump's reputation. If you remember, Democrats were mad that James Comey let out of the bag just before the election that there might be some new evidence in the email scandal. Hillary blamed Comey for throwing the election. She blamed the Russians for throwing the election. She blamed everybody but herself for throwing the election for her. But Comey was trying to rehabilitate that. And so he had an intermediary, a Columbia law professor by the name of Daniel Richman, who the FBI confirmed and interviewed. And Richman said, yes, I used my relationship with a New York Times reporter named Michael Schmidt. He's one of the authors of the Pulitzer Prize winning package that President Trump is now suing over. And my goal was to improve negative stories about James Comey and to set a narrative, i.e. set the Russia collusion narrative. This guy worked around the official channels of the FBI press office. And at one point, the FBI noted, you met with James Comey. He gave you access to classified information. A short while later, you had a conversation with that New York Times reporter, and he ends up reporting something that appears to be classified. Did you do it? And he gives, I think, perhaps the most famous denial people will remember, since Bill Clinton says it depends what the meaning of the word is when he tried to obfuscate whether he had an affair with Monica Lewinsky. He says, I can say I don't think I confirmed the information. I can say with a discount that I didn't give him the classified information. With a discount means you got to give me some room. It's an extraordinary moment. The FBI clearly had strong suspicions that this was a potential backdoor for information, maybe classified information, to get out to the media with James Comey's fingerprints on it. And they didn't go much further. They didn't put Comey before the grand jury, that we can tell. They didn't appear to put this gentleman, Daniel Richman, before the grand jury. And like Adam Schiff, as we told you last night, here they have an eyewitness whistleblower who said, I was in the room when he authorized leaks of intel. These end up being a dead end again. And it's another reminder of a dual system of justice that the Justice Department had the last 6 years. These are documents that were never given to Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan confirmed that to me today. And we're just learning 8 years later, because of what Kash Patel turned over, that the FBI had all the evidence of how the false narrative of Russia collusion was spread across this country to the detriment of voters, to the detriment of President Trump's first campaign, and they did nothing about it.
It's a credit to the FBI. It's a credit to Kash Patel. It's a credit to the people that are involved in sharing this information now with the public. Do you see legal jeopardy here?
I think if Pam Bondi goes the grand jury route, that these are people that are going to be hauled before the grand jury. I want to remind people, most classified information statutes have a 5-year statute of limitations, but there is a provision that extends it to 10 years if it's willing and knowing. And there is some pretty clear evidence of a strong put in place to occur, according to the evidence. I think a grand jury could go back and try to compel testimony and find out if it rises to the level of criminality. New destination, which is, how often did the FBI get blocked in trying to investigate Hillary Clinton corruption at the Clinton Foundation? You're going to be shocked by the answer.
Yeah, that's where he dropped that. That's where he dropped that at the end. You're going to be shocked when you find out about the Clinton Foundation. Yeah, so we got two things coming up, big things coming up tomorrow. This is Matt Taibbi. He refers in a kind of a cryptic way. And, you know, how is the media going to cover this up or not cover these things? Okay, these are of national importance, these issues. Criminality at the highest levels of government. How can they not cover it? But anyway, here's Matt Taibbi working with, well, I don't want to call him that, Cuomo. I'll just call him that. Anyway, here we go with Matt Taibbi. What's he going to tell us?
I think there are going to be indictments. I was very skeptical on that question even a couple of weeks ago, but I have heard repeatedly from these folks that they understand that this is not a hearts and minds contest and that they are not doing this for show, and that if they don't end up in a courtroom, that this will be a massive political failure for them. So I do think that there will be significant indictments. I just don't know what for. I mean, I think that's a very important question to ask right now. We know a grand jury has been convened, but they haven't really given us a strong indication about what crimes they might be investigating.
It has to be that. I mean, that's what we've seen with all of these things. I mean, even the dirt thing that just came up, you know, the cases that he made, right? The guy pleaded guilty to fucking with an email. And then the other two guys, it was, you lied to us, and they lost both cases. So, you know, that's what it always comes down to.
So that's a good point. But what I've heard from these folks is that they understand how the optics of that and what that looks like to voters. And they are going to try for, I think, something more substantive, even if it comes up short.
Do you think that the Clintons wind up being exposed to prosecution?
I keep being told that. I'm not sure I understand how that can be the case, but I keep being told that Hillary Clinton is actually a target in these investigations. It may turn out that something having to do with her original email situation will be wrapped into some kind of conspiracy case, but I don't know what it is and I don't see it. So I would this is me, the careful reporter, saying I would caution people not to think that there's anything there yet.
Okay, so he's saying I don't know how they would what they charge her with, but he is saying he's hearing that there are going to be indictments. And what are we hearing from John Solomon? Revelations concerning the Clinton Foundation. We got Ghislaine Maxwell. She's going to go work at Subway. Is she going to work at Panda Express? Is that why they're letting her out, or is she going to be sitting in a Schiff, giving highly classified, sensitive information, telling on these creatures that have been taking advantage of our country and committing crimes against the American people and against the entire world, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, here is a guy that went out walking around in D.C. for all these characters saying, well, there was no big deal. Trump's just showing off. And I've been seeing on Midas Trash Network, some of them are saying things like, I think there's more to this than Trump trying to get rid of crime. They're acting like he is going to try to take over a dictatorship in the United States. They think they're talking like conspiracy theorists, you know? So I don't feel so bad talking about it when I start thinking about what are they doing? Look at the Smithsonian situation with the underground pathways, right? With Ghislaine Maxwell, what's going on with her? All the other things we talked about, following the pen. And is it going to be done in 30? Okay? Are there going to be earthquakes, political earthquakes, while Trump is in Anchorage and the entire world watching what's going on between him and Trump? But anyway, this fella here is showing D.C. and how much in one night things have changed because what Trump has done with the National Guard. So anyway, folks, I want to thank you all for spending your precious time with me. Enjoy this clip by this young man, and let's see. I should be going live. If you're subscribed and hit the notification bell, you'll know when I go live. But anyway, I should be going live tomorrow. We shall see. If I can, I can. If I can't, I can't. But we shall see. And thank you once again to Norm, Gary, Miss Mendersue, Wayne, and Mike and Bev for going by buy me a coffee. Link in the description for anyone who wants to help the channel out. Enjoy this clip. You all have a great night. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.
Man, down the city is quiet as a church mouse, man. I came all the way down Pennsylvania Avenue this morning. So peaceful, yeah. I don't smell no weed, yeah. I don't see no homeless people. I mean, I came all the way through the southeast side, all the way down here. You can see now I'm at the White House jump, man. It's quiet, yeah. It's a shame that it takes somebody to have to sit in your classroom in order for you to be in order, yeah? Because that's what it feels like, yeah? You got to be babysitter to do your job, yeah? Stuff been out of control for years. You got to do better, yeah? You got to do better, yeah? And mainly, young, you got the problems. It's us, man. It's always us giving everybody a bad name, young. We'll see how long this lasts, young. How many murders was it last night? How many carjackings was it last night? Talk to me. And y'all keep on posting all these data numbers and things of that nature that y'all see everybody else reposting. The stuff that came from the Metropolitan Police Department and the mayor, young. Let me tell you something, young. Let me tell you something. You can't be that stupid. You can't be, man. Who enters that information to get that data analysis, young? People do. You can enter whatever numbers you want to make whatever report show what, but you can't hide the crime, young. You can't do it. Let me give you something to break it down to you for those that don't understand. I retired from UPS, right? So what they used to do to play with the numbers or whatever, we have mission packages. You'll have drivers over the hours. They'd go in and enter the information, and the report would show whatever they needed to show to keep their bonus that week for their bosses not to fire their ass. So stop believing that stuff. And I don't know if you ever had to deal with the DC government, young, but they suck, young. They have got a lot more better now that the officers have did what they had to do and got all of these people out of the government and got rid of the riffraff and things of that nature. People actually do work now. Let me give you this for example, right? You got carry and conceals or whatever that were being issued by the DC